Welcome to our webinar on how AI is transforming education. We will have a panel discussion sharing both practical examples and best practice. We will also have a presentation of IsLearning survey tool with integrated AI by Frøydis Hamre, our product owner at IsLearning. My name is Beate Katrine Mo. I'm a teacher in Bergen Municipality and a pedagogical advisor in IsLearning, and I will be the moderator today. Before I introduce our guest, I would like to emphasize that the teachers debating in our panel discussion today are not connected to IsLearning. They are enthusiastic users of AI at their schools. We will talk about practical example on how we can use AI to enhance education, on how using AI have had an impact on education. So, before we start, let me introduce our guest. Niklas, welcome and thank you for joining.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Niklas Funk. I'm living in the south of Sweden. I'm working for public schools. So I'm living in the south of Sweden, but I remote teaching students in the north of Sweden. So it's like 1,400 kilometers, the distance between us. So I'm doing remote teaching in Spanish.
Yes. Thank you. And welcome to Kim André.
Hello, thank you. I am not in Sweden, I'm in Norway. I work as a teacher and an advisor for Askøy Municipality. Been a teacher for about 17 years, going back to the classroom now in the autumn, so I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you, and welcome to Tarja.
Thank you. My name is Tarja Pedersen. I teach at Klappestø ungdomsskole in same place as Kim. I've been teaching about 23 years, and I teach now English, social science, and also e-sport.
Thank you, and welcome to Frøydis.
Thank you. So I'm a product owner here at IsLearning, and been working here for 10 years now, just had my anniversary. And before that, I used to teach in upper secondary schools here in Bergen, and in Askøy actually, for about 8 years, teaching in chemistry, maths, and science. And currently my role in IsLearning is to work with development teams to develop our features and to maintain them. Currently overlooking especially accessibility, but also a development in AI and test tool and a couple of other things.
Thank you. And before we start the discussion, we are looking at your different thoughts on how you are using AI in your daily work and in your teaching. And to share best practice and also to share any kind of knowledge that you think will be beneficial for the audience is very appreciated. So maybe I could start with you, Niklas. How are you using AI in your teaching or in your daily work?
Well, I'm using it a lot first for myself of planning and doing different exercises. And I, as all the students using Snapchat, and so they have their only AI in their phone, daily phone. And so they can use it in so many ways. I use it sometimes as a conversation agent. So I want my students to speak as much as possible. So there's a lot of AI conversation agents, so they can speak to AI. So yeah, they speak to them. I listen to them in small groups as I'm doing online. And there is some natural readers that students can put in their own text, so they can choose if there's a Mexican native speaking woman who's saying the words, or is from Chile or Colombia, so the students can learn and hear the difference, the dialects and the speed of talking. So that's another example, and I use it as when I want to do a gap text exercise, for example. The AI and ChatGPT is very useful, and it saved me a lot of work because as I'm a remote teaching, it's a lot of individual teaching. It's a whole class, but as they're many, I can put them in small groups, and I know that okay, you needs to work with grammar, you needs practicing other stuff. So the AI can help me and save me time, and I can give them the best exercises. And also I let the students know how to use the AI so they can have their own teacher when they're not in class, because sometimes the students are tired, they're not focused. So then I show them how to use AI as a teacher, so they can have their own teacher whenever they want. If they need more practice with the grammar, or if they want, they didn't understand how I explained it, some grammar, they can ask their AI how to use it better. And I also, well, of course, the students try to cheating, like said, okay, I've done this text, but then I understand, okay, no, this is incorrect grammar. We haven't learned this kind of grammar. But then you can like use their text that they have used. They have used AI to create a text, and then we can all together like share. Okay, what is wrong with this text? Like, oh, this is a new kind of grammar, and then we can use that in practice. Yeah, there's some small examples that I use, but I use it a lot, and the students know that I'm using it. I want them to use it. As I'm saying, that's like their own teacher the whole time, everywhere they are. They can just ask their AI, and they can, learn more Spanish, and that's what I want.
Thanks. How about you, Tarja and Kim? How are you using your AI in your daily teaching or daily work?
I started using it about half a year ago, like regular. We started the first project we did was with writing, where we used the Gemini or Bard, what is it called at that time, with a writing assignment where the students had they first did the brainstorming individual, then they did it in groups, and then they did it with the Bard, and then they did the whole writing. But they used the Google Bard as a tool, so they also had to document what they used it for. So everything the prompts they put in and everything, they had to document it. So that was a part of the process. The whole so they didn't just copy it; they needed to see what was worth using, what was not. They had to think about what they actually were doing. So we used that in creative writing. But lately, me and Kim, we have designed our own chatbots that is directly connected to the topics we're teaching. So we decided that the chatbot itself, when it's open, it's not that good for students to use. We need to have it more close so they would do exactly what the task is looking for, and often it won't give them the answer. It's more like an help, so they can't copy it and hand it in. It's more like a help for the students. We have some chatbot that would be great for the start of a task. We have others that would be better in the end. We have made one for Second World War where it give you two ethical dilemmas, and then you have to have a lot of prior knowledge to do it, because you can't solve an ethical dilemma if you don't have prior knowledge. So we looked upon that one, and we made a lot of different chatbots ourselves that is connected to topics we're teaching in the classroom. So we share them with the other teachers, and we're trying to find topics where the chatbots would be a tool that would enhance learning, because I think that's an important aspect there. It has to bring something else. It's not You're not going to do the same thing and then just use chatbots or AI, and then you're doing exactly the same thing, because then it's not the purpose of doing it. They have to be improving in some ways, and I feel that the AI can improve some things and it can't other things. It wouldn't be useful, but we're trying to find the best ways to use it. So, but we see that by building our own chatbots, it's we get a better result, because then we can choose ourselves how to use them, and we put it directly in the classroom, and it would just, as I said, not give the student the answer, but it will help them on the way.
Yes, and also there's another aspect, and that's about saving time in your daily work. So I also work in administration and trying to find useful tools for administrators or teachers as well to be more efficient in the day-to-day work. So trying to build some enterprise search versions using AI to be able to talk with your own data, and that is also something that will save a huge amount of time instead of reading through a document or trying to look or search in Google Drive or in OneDrive or what you're using. Then you can be a lot more efficient when implementing these kinds of tools as well. So there's two different levels, one for the students and one for the admin or the teacher. So, and also the translation AI is quite useful, where you in the past got a lot of trouble when trying to translate PDFs. Now you can implement AI and also translate PDFs, and that's in any language that you want. And we also have a very interesting chatbot inside of Google Chat, where teachers can use it to create documents, brainstorm around the topic, or create lesson plans, and that's also a very interesting topic that we're looking into at the moment.
So there are many possibilities using AI in teaching, but there are also some challenges. Are there any challenges you are thinking will be worth mentioning?
I think one of the main challenges is that the students are using the chatbots and just copying and pasting it, and presenting the work of the chatbot as their own. I think that's one of the main challenges with AI, and the one we face the most when we talk to teachers, that they're giving a task, the students are putting the task into a chatbot, and then they're giving an answer that looks really good, and then they're just presenting it as their own. I think and that doesn't really give anything. The students haven't shown any knowledge when they did something like that. I think and it is really hard to prove it too. So I think that what's frustrated a lot of teachers, that they're using it as a tool for cheating, and I think that's one of the big aspects. And then you also have the questions about who owns the information. If you're using open chatbot, who owns the information because they use the information you put in. So it's all about privacy.
Yeah, I was thinking about the topic of that. It's not so many teachers yet that knows how to use it. They knows that AI exists, and they knows that there is ChatGPT and other, but they don't really know when they're gonna use it, how they're gonna use it, because it takes time to learn it. If you're not so interested, and then they get a text from a student that is perfect, and they ask me, "Oh, is this AI?" I don't know, probably, maybe. So the way of change the way of teaching, I think, is the biggest topic in my school.
And also accessibility. I mean, some schools might utilize AI and try to teach the teachers and the students how to use it, and some don't. And then you will have a gap between schools, and that is also some of the challenges that we see when talking to others, is that we have a ban on the use of AI, and some might have it fully integrated, and that will also create huge differences in how the schools and the municipalities approach the use of AI.
Will you say that this will actually change the way you are setting up your daily tasks?
Yeah, I can definitely say that as time goes on and learning about even more productivity tools within AI, definitely has become more efficient. I also turn, as Niklas said, it's a conversational partner. So if I don't have a colleague or anyone else to ask, I can go to the to the Gemini and ask for input. And in that way, I have, well, sounds kind of lonesome, but I have a conversational partner that I can ask for help if I need it and get answers much faster than if I would have to go to the internet and search or filter through hundreds or millions of different sources. So I can access information way faster than before. So yes to that answer.
Yeah, I also think that the biggest change is the planning, that I use it for planning, but in the classroom, I don't feel like I'm doing that big of a difference in the way we're teaching. I use it as a tool, and I used various digital tools before, so I don't think that one has changed that much. But I feel that it's on the before what I'm actually doing, how I prepare for classes, and how I don't search that much anymore. Use Gemini to find information. As Kim said, you can have conversation and can discuss and you can find good ways of making teaching materials. I think that one has changed, but I don't think it changed that much in my classroom because I use a lot of various digital tool before. So for me, it's a tool, and I'm trying to find the best ways to use it, and I don't I don't use it if I don't feel it enhance my teaching. So I'm trying to find the best ways. I think that's one important too. I think there is a rush to use AI, but I think the debate doesn't go on how to use it in the best way. It's more like everybody should be using it, and we don't talk enough about how to use it well and how it improve your teaching. I think that one is the main aspect. You don't use AR for AR's sake. You need to be using it because it brings something else into the classroom.
Yeah, and I'm using it, as I said before, like if I need some fast exercise. I know that some students maybe they're finishing their work or the exercise, and I need a fast exercise. Okay, let's do it instead of me thinking of which kind of sentence I would write, and I have 10 different or 20 or 50 different examples, and I can just editing and send it to the students. So that saved me a lot of time during class.
I mean, would we say that we need to skill our students in the way they are using AI, or are the students already skilled enough to use AI?
I've seen when I gave the writing task, I see the one that had been using AI before, that they took it a lot faster. They were known of how to write good prompts. They knew what to ask for. But I also see that the students that were on a high level of writing, they understood a lot better what to use, what to not to use. So they understand that the chatbots are not just giving me the good answer. Sometimes they can't be using it what they're giving, and they have a lot higher trust on themselves, so they can understand. Okay, I can use this one. This one wouldn't work for me, but the student that maybe are not that well in writing, they took everything. So I think that's something that they need to understand what is good at, what is not good at. I think, and the students need to know how to write prompts. They need to know how it's built, what is the good thing, what is the bad thing, the challenges, and so on. I think we need to address that more in a classroom. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I only confirm
Yeah.
what you say.
Go ahead,
So,
Niklas. Sorry.
no, they're using it so fast that they don't really know why they're using it, how they're using it. So if I ask them to work in a group and create something, yeah, they're gonna go to a restaurant, for example. Somebody using it and they have the text in 10 minutes and they say, we're done. Okay, but what is this meaning? Do you know really what you know? So then the talking is more, that's more, you have to speak more to the students and really know what they really are know, or use like when they're doing exams or tests that they cannot use another browser, or so you really know what they really have learned. So
And also, we had a experience yesterday at the train station. Two students walking behind us, and you said, Taya, that oh, I got an assignment from my teacher. I just put it straight to ChatGPT, and it wrote the whole thing, and I submitted it. So students are already, and has been for a while, I think, using AI a lot. So that's why I also think that, and probably that's why people are rushing into implementing AI, because you feel that the students have a tool that can create something for them, and they don't really know how to utilize it properly, and then you get kind of a you get rushed into technology that you're not properly prepared for, and that's not a good place to be at. And I think many teachers have that feeling and don't know how to navigate in this landscape, and that's something we have to take seriously and try to get back on track. I guess it's not easy, but I think also you have to use the tools so that you can learn how to navigate in them correctly.
it feels
Absolutely,
like
because
this
I'm thinking.
AI. Oh, sorry.
No worry, go ahead, Niklas.
No. Oh, now it feels like the hype is like the same when the iPad came to the classrooms. When the iPad came and a lot of different applications, and you were testing a lot, and every teacher wants to test. This is a new one, and this is the same with AI. There's so many tools you can use. Some of them are super good, some of them are not so good and useful, and so we really need to calm down a little bit and really focus on what is good and what is not so good, and really teach teachers and the students how to use it so it's get the powerful as it is.
And what you were just touching upon is that from a teacher perspective, and we are living in a time where we are talking a lot about GDPR, and how can we ensure that all the teachers will adopt the same skills when using AI, and how can we also ensure that we are keeping on track when it comes to GDPR?
I think that the focus on teachers and giving them the tools. I think there's a couple of problems there. Like especially in Norway, we got UDIR. They don't really have the knowledge because this is a brand new tool. It's and everybody expect them to come up with answers, but it's really hard for them too because they don't have the people at hand that has looked into these tools and used them for a long time. So it's everybody's struggling. You have teachers, one teacher there, two teachers there, and it's very the different schools. They don't. It's not a plan. It's not a national plan how to incorporate this one and give the teacher the tool. There is a lot of schools that are just jumping into it. Some schools now we don't want to use it, and it's when you're talking to people, there's so much information going around. We don't need what chatbot should we be using? Is this free? Is this not free? How is with privacy? So there's so much different things involving here, and especially with the tools, because there is none of these are made in Norway, and then you have the privacy issues, and every school need to address that one, and should who should make the plans and so on. So it's and you have so that's the one of the main issue here. I think that there is who should be in charge of teaching the teacher, and on what should we be teaching, because nobody really knows that one either. What should we be teaching the students? How much? And yeah, what should we be teaching in AI? That is also something that nobody really told me what we should focus on. You got some advice from UD, but they're like this big. It's really you can put everything into it. So that is, and you could spend about 3 years in ungdomsskole teaching every class with about AI, and we wouldn't be reaching the goals.
There is one rule that you can follow, and that is if something is free, it is actually not. So the AI that is free uses the input of the data to train, so that you pay with your own data when it's on the consumer end. So what you can do is that you can implement the tools and build some solutions for your own municipality, and then you get more control. And that's why we chose to use the Google Cloud aspect and on building our own chatbots, because you always have the large language models that you can use, and most people go to them. But that's on the consumer end of things, and then the privacy is well, not well protected. But when you build your own chatbots or your own AI, then you have more control and you have the security that you need to be able to be compliant with GDPR.
Anything you would like to add, Niklas?
No, not at the moment.
When we are creating assignments to students, how can we kind of recreate them to be able to use the creativity as students for them to provide a good hand in?
I think that's a key questions, and I'm not quite sure about that one. I think we have to have a lot more oral discussion. We not more debate about the topics. We did ethical dilemmas where students need to be discussing it. I think it has to be more tasks like that one, because mostly every task you give student that is in writing, the AI can solve. So the student need to be, I think we would need to be looking into it, and I don't have a clear answer to that one because it is a really hard question. You think about some, okay, they can do it like this one, then come up with a new AI tool that solves exactly that one. So it's really hard to come up with a good, especially written task that the AI can't. If they have access to a chatbot, it's really hard to come up with a tool that would not be able to be solved by an AI. That is, but I think we do a lot of oral talking in the classroom, and then you can have like talk about their talk about what they have done, but you also can give them the AI tool, and then they have to be showing in what way they used it. I think that's one of the aspect too, that we can be using it as a tool, but they need to be showing it how they have done it. It for me is a little bit like the calculator in math, because they have one task to do it without the calculator, and then they have a harder task to doing with the calculator, and they have to be showing how they use the calculator. So I think that is something we might have to look into. They can use it as a tool, but they need to be showing how to use it.
A really hard question, so I'll leave it with that. One of the things that we are debating as well is that we can see that there are some issues. Well, maybe issue is the wrong word, but in regards to bias. So do you have any concerns in terms of use of AI indication in regards to bias?
We used a picture generator. That is where we see it the most clearly, I feel, when we're trying to find pictures of things. That is really hard if you have like an image in your head. I was trying to, for example, try to make a picture of me and Kim and a student. Um, and it was almost impossible to have write in two male teachers, one student, because it always come up with one male teacher, one woman teacher, and then so it was a struggle a lot. And it's also if you write a Norwegian teacher, it always come up with like me and Kim, the same color of our skin. So it's I think that's where I see the most. It's really hard to make if you have a clear idea in your head, especially with people to look into. And I worked with a South African school, and I was writing. I would make a picture of South African students, and they all come up with black students, and so there is I think that where I've seen a lot is when I'm doing the picture generator. That's where I see the bias coming in.
Yeah, but also you can not get around that problem, but my advice would be to build your own. That's why you can take the large language models and then tweak them so that they fit your needs, and that is also important because then you can check and you can test for what information comes out of it, and will this be a problem? And when you build your own tools, then you also have better control, but they are trained on information from a lot of people, so I guess that there will always be a risk of being biased, and it's the society that we live in as well, so it reflects on the society that we're in, so it's not an easy task to get around, but you will have to be aware, and you will have to try the tools in before you use them, so that you can address these issues if they arise.
And we also have seen with not with the chatbot we made now, but if you do the open chatbot, if you, for example, would discuss the president election in the US, it won't answer that one because it's so afraid of giving out the false information. So that's something that we've seen too, and we will look into China too. We want certain topics related to China, it won't answer, even though it's clear that is what is the right answer. It won't. So that's also something that is important to look at. What kind of answer will it not be discussing, and why not? I think that's also something is important.
But that is also something that you can use to talk about. Why won't it answer these types of questions? What is the limitations of AI, and why is it so? Because the American election has a lot of fake news. If you train the large language model in the wrong way, it will not work as it's supposed to work. So that's why there's limitations on certain topics. That's also important to know, because if you're going to use a tool in the classroom with students or teachers, then they will have to know the limitations for themselves, so that they are aware of, okay, we can use it in this type of setting, but not as much in this. As Niklas said, you have to find the way to give the right tool and talk with the students a lot more on how to use it.
Okay. So one of the last thing I want to touch upon before we hand over to Frøydis is me being a teacher myself. I use a lot of time with my students talking about critical thinking. And in regards to AI, I think critical thinking, even now, is even more important than before. What are your thoughts around critical thinking?
I think it's very important because what we see that a lot of students are just copying what the chatbot, the answer the chatbots are giving them. And I think that is really important that we make them understood that this is not a tool that will often give you the clear answers. You need to be thinking about yourself. Who is giving you this answer? And that's everything on the internet. You need to be knowing who's behind these. And I think that they need to have several sources. We often use the chatbot with different sources too. We're not just using the chatbot as one source. We use it as one of them. So I think they need to be understanding what kind of knowledge is this based on, and they need to address it. They need to be critical, and I think that's something that's going to be really super important in the future, to be critical, because we have so much fake news, and the AI can just generate enormous amount of fake news. And you got the videos, you got the picture generator now that can make things that look so real. You got the music. It's everything. It's all around us, and that's really what scares me now. Is how can we be certain that things is actually made by humans and not an AI that made this by using fake information, because it looks so real now.
Yeah. If you have any questions, we will soon leave the word for Frøydis to show the survey tool with AI. But if you have any questions, just use the chat and type in some questions, and we'll come back and answer them afterwards. So Frøydis, please, the floor is yours.
Yep, working through all the buttons to get shared. Taking some time there. Right, so thank you. That was a really interesting discussion to hear. And I do see, I hear several of you mentioning the same phenomenon as we saw 10, 15 years ago when digital tools were introduced in schools and laptops were introduced in schools, that there is a strong focus on what to use, which tool to use, and not so much on why to use it and how to use it in a good way for learning. So we will get there with AI as well, and we do see that these processes now take shorter and shorter time. So we'll get there sooner than we did with the laptops, and seeing how so many schools, maybe not so much in Norway, but in other countries, who when the pandemic hit and you closed down the schools, everyone was running to figure out, how do we do this online schooling thing, because we do not have the tools or we do not have the experience. I do think that was a lot easier in Norway. We have been far ahead when it comes to digital tools, and the same now happening with AI, that it's taken everyone by surprise, so to speak, because it's come so suddenly, and we have all these things available to us, and now it's just trying to navigate the terrain. But we will get to a point where we start discussing much more how to use this in a good way. How can we improve learning? And you've been talking more about chat bots, chat dialogue, text generation, which is of course the main purpose of these large language models, which is what most of us are talking about when we are talking about AI, and also the image generation and so on. But for now, the focus has been a lot on text. So from the It's Learning perspective, we've seen, okay, so what does our platform actually do? Well, we help teachers to facilitate learning. We help teachers to organize their content. We help teachers to create their own content or to import external content and so on. It's more about setting the framework for a pedagogical context for the teaching, be it in the classroom or with online teaching, depending on what type of school you are and how you do your work. So then we have started looking at, well, how can we integrate AI into that in a good and safe way? We've started very slowly, too slow, some people may say. On the other hand, we're also navigating the legal terrain here, making sure that we stay on the right side of things like GDPR and sharing data. So basically, we started out playing around with we were developing the new survey tool that came out in September last year, and as part of that, we were playing around with how can we integrate AI into that? How can we use AI to actually help teachers with the goal of saving time? That's the most important part, because we know teachers are busy. So what we then did was to simply connect to ChatGPT and then ask it to create a survey for us. Obviously, we need to make sure the data is returned on a format we can actually interpret into a survey. So creating a new survey, what you will see is a separate tab. I will demonstrate this. I'll just quickly go through it. And then you input the topic and the number of questions. You set the survey type. Is it anonymous? Is it external? And so on. And you just have it generate your survey. For now, it's pretty simple. All the questions are multiple choice, and they will have the same answer scale, the agreement scale. So it's just, do you agree a lot, somewhat, not at all, and so on. And as with anything generated by AIs, you also know, having played around with this a lot, you need to review the content before publishing. For most of the times I've been experimenting with it, the questions I get are pretty good, depending a bit on my input. Sometimes it obviously runs out of ideas, so half the questions are completely useless. So you need to take a critical look at what is returned. And then just briefly also regarding the data protection and security, obviously you shouldn't put any personal information into this, any copyrighted material. That's a different part of the legal terrain that we need to navigate. The model that we are connecting to has been set up, so the data that's sent is stored for 30 days and then it's deleted. And also it's not used for training. And we are not sharing any user or customer information at all. This is all sent through the It's Learning account, so everything is completely anonymized. Unless, of course, you input actual personal information in the input field, which makes no sense when you're creating a survey. And after the survey is generated, there is no more communication with OpenAI. So once that's generated, it's just like any other survey existing only inside It's Learning. There's no connection anywhere. So let me see if I can switch this. There we go. Oh, sorry. I have too many windows open. I am now inside a course as a teacher, and I want to create a survey with AI. If you see strange things here, it's because this is a demo site where we're testing stuff. So sometimes we have very strange content and apps and stuff appearing. I've cleaned up most of it, but there may be strange things you see. Right, so when I then select the Create Survey with AI, I get this warning about inputting personal or copyrighted information. It is sent outside the EU. For those concerned about that, we are looking to change to a service within Europe. We have some technical challenges to resolve first, but that's on our plan. So we will keep this inside EU. This is not actually released to customers yet. We are working on that. It's going to be opt-in, which means we will not enable this for anyone. We will allow you to choose it. So the administrator or the owner of your organization can enable it for your users. So we will not do that for you. This is going to be an active opt-in for every customer. I'm just going to copy the text here. So then I can just input a topic. So I'm teaching chemistry, and I'm going to start teaching about the periodic table and atoms. So I want to know what my students know beforehand. Maybe a test would be better for this, but then you have right and wrong answers. In a survey, you're more open-ended, and that can be a bit more flexible. For the number of questions, we've just set some more or less random numbers to choose from. What we saw was that when you have more than 15 generated, it usually starts repeating itself. So that's not very useful. And below 5, there are too few to choose from. 10 is often a good one. So I can make this anonymous or not. And if I make it external, let's do that now so I can show you something else afterwards. I have some other options when the survey is generated. There are some tips here to what you can use it for, and also a short explanation of how this actually works, so you have that information before you start. This will be tweaked a bit once we change the service to the one inside Europe. So then I can simply generate this survey. Takes a few seconds, few more seconds sometimes, depending a bit on the traffic. So it creates an introduction for you. And then this is, as I said, external and anonymous. So for those who haven't seen it, I wanted to brag about this one, where you now also get a QR code. So if you have an external survey, you want people to answer that, maybe also outside H Learning, then you get a simple QR code to get directly to the survey. I'm going to share that. And then we have the questions generated. So there are 10 questions as I asked for. And they are all multiple choice. And if I open one of them, you will see that they all have these alternatives with it, which is what we call the agreement scale. So also in the new survey, we have predefined answer scales just to help you create questions more faster and to make them more consistent. If you want several questions that are the same, you don't have to type this in. It's just automatic. And now, as a teacher, I can edit this just as any other survey. At this point, there is no difference between an AI-generated survey and a normal one. So from our side, this was considered a good place to start in terms of risk. It is really simple. It is quite limited. We are completely aware of that, but we needed to start somewhere with our experimentation, and then we can build on that moving forward. Yes, as I said, I've had this in pilot with a couple of customers until now, so I've had a few discussions. I have a few more coming up, but aiming to allow customers to enable this sometime before the summer. We're working now on just making the settings work and so on. Just seeing if there's something I forgot to mention. Nope. So what we're discussing internally is still within the same type of context as this, to put it into tools for generating content, helping teachers save time for the things that we know are time consuming. One of the things we have been discussing that I'm a bit eager to get going, if I get the capacity for it, is to have this in the test tool. Not necessarily to create a full test, but to take away at least one of the really time-consuming parts, which is if you make a simple multiple choice test, as a teacher, it's not difficult to create a question. And it's not difficult to create the right answer. The difficult part is creating the good wrong answers. To have distractors that are valuable as distractors, that it's likely that the students choose if they have some common misconception about the topic. And those are the difficult ones. But that should be fairly easy to get an AI to generate those for you, or at least suggest some and then you can choose. So that's one of the things I do want to look into. Soon is always a relative term when it comes to development, but yeah. Are there any questions or anything maybe you, Beate, know that I've forgotten to mention?
Not that I can think of out of my mind, but we have some questions to our panel from the chat. So one of them is, what advice would you like to give to other educators who are considering integrating AI into their teaching? Would you like to comment on that, Kim?
Yeah, I can comment. I would try to focus on one area at a time, not trying to find every tool that is out there, but just find one, find a use case for it, and try to experiment. You will learn a lot when trying to enhance your learning or your teaching or be more efficient in the day-to-day work. I would start with that. Maybe the easiest way to start is trying to chat to one of the large language model and make differentiations in the task that you provide from a normal perspective, and then just try to learn how to talk to a language model. There's a lot of useful information that comes out of that. So I would start there.
Thank you. Anything you would like to add, Tarja?
Yeah, I think see what you want to improve. How would this enhance your teaching? Find one area that needs to be improving, and then come up with the ideas. And there is a lot of teachers on different like Facebook groups and so on that shares their knowledge. Follow them, try to copy them. You don't really need to come up with something at your own. There is a lot of people that share what they're doing. To connect with people and see what they're doing and try to copy that something that looks interesting and then make it your own. You don't need to come up with everything on your own, and you can even ask the Gemini about a topic that you're teaching. What can I be doing to make this more engaging for the students? And I come up with a lot of ideas. Some are good, some is not good, and then you can brainstorm together with the Gemini. I think that's something that's also is rewarding.
Yeah, and I would say don't stress, don't panic, and just like have fun when you find a tool that you like. So, and share it with others, so you can share the knowledge.
Anything you would like to add, Fredis?
No, not really. I mean, you know as well as I that AI is a daily topic of discussion in the office in various contexts, both for what we're doing in the product, but also for how we can use this in the kind of internal business context as well. And we are also learning along the way here, and reading a lot about AI, about what we can do, what we cannot do. Yeah, it's interesting. It's been really interesting to listen to your conversation, and I obviously, having been a teacher, I've also had several conversations with others, with friends and former colleagues, about what they are doing and how they're using it. And yeah, I think for now, a lot of people have more questions than answers. So it's going to be interesting to follow this in the coming months and years. I'm sure the development is going to go faster than we like, which is the usual thing.
Absolutely. But there is also another very important question picking up from the chat, which is in regards to students. So how can we ensure that students have equal access to different AI resources? It's another difficult question, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, we solved that one with making our own and then share that with all of our students. And then that's how we make sure that everybody got the same tools and the same possibilities. I think that's something that also is really important.
But that doesn't solve
No.
the issue for anyone else. So you have to. That
It
is
does.
actually.
Ours is free and it's out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. That is true. You can use ours at any point. That's no problem. But there is an issue with luck with the people that are inside your municipality, I guess. Are there enough people interested? Do they have the time to build these types of solutions? Is the leadership engaged in the development? Do they see the opportunities or not? So, as I said in the beginning, I think there will be a gap, or there is already, and it's up to everyone to try to fill those gaps. And yeah, but how or when, I can't really say, but I'm afraid that this will just be increased in the upcoming months. I don't think we talk years, but the development is going so fast, so it's I think it's very important to just try to find the tool, try it out, give student access, not having them on the consumer end of ChatGPT or Gemini. That's the wrong place to start, I believe. So yeah, difficult question, no real answer.
Yeah. And there is another question from the chat as well. Do I need to do AI things in English, or is Swedish an option? Most of the material online is in English, but not all. And my students, not all of them understand English.
Our chatbots understand both Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, Russian, all different language. You can mainly type in the language you want and it will answer in that. Unless we have programmed it to just answer in English. We have some that we just use in English class. So that one is programmed to just answer in English. Otherwise it would answer in the language you need to, because that's something AI does really, really well, is managing to answer in all different language.
Thank you. Then our time is soon coming up, but before we finish, I would like to say to our panel, thank you so much today for sharing, and to the audience, thank you for watching, and we wish you all a great day.